I want you to picture something. Imagine a civilization that stretches across thousands of stars, but it's trapped in a dark age it built for itself. This is a society that slammed the brakes on progress 1,000 years ago, all in the name of survival. Today, we're diving into the story of the Carrion Empire.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to peel back the layers on this grim future. We'll look at why it's stuck in time, figure out who really pulls the strings, see the shadow wars of the great houses, face the cosmic horrors that are clawing at the edges of reality, and finally, meet the only people left who can still move freely in this chained-up galaxy.
All right, first up, let's talk about the single most important thing you need to know about the Empire. Its state of total stasis. And this wasn't an accident, not at all. It's a fragile piece, one that's been carefully, meticulously built on one core idea. Progress is forbidden. The big question is, why?
This line just nails the Empire's whole vibe. It's a civilization that refuses to die, right? But it's not living, not really. It's just enduring. This is a society running on the fumes of memory and fear, stubbornly clinging to existence while the rest of the universe just moves on without it.
So how did they get here? Well, the story kicks off 1,000 years ago. The old Imperium just completely shattered after its emperor was assassinated. What came next was a nightmare, an age of warlords and galaxy-spanning civil war that pushed humanity right to the brink of total extinction. It was out of that fire and chaos that the Codex Knights rose up. They forced a ceasefire that became known as the Long Stasis, a new reality where any kind of real innovation is outlawed because it's seen as the first step on the road back to galactic war.
So how do you actually enforce a 1,000-year standstill? Well, the Empire doesn't have an emperor or a president. Instead, it's held together by this really tense alliance of three massive factions. These are the pillars of the whole system: law, faith, and economy.
The first pillar, law, is the Codex Knights. Think of them as monk soldiers who have absolute, unquestionable authority. They carry around this ridiculously advanced technology that nobody else is allowed to have. We're talking relics from before the collapse. And they are the final word on keeping the peace, a peace they will enforce with overwhelming, terrifying force if they have to.
Next up, you've got faith, and that's the domain of the Church of Holy Light. Their core belief is that humanity's original downfall came from putting too much faith in its own machines. So the Church controls all morality and sets the rules for technology. They hunt heretics, and they absolutely forbid any kind of self-aware AI. Their whole doctrine can be boiled down to this: the flesh is sacred, the machine must serve, and the void is pure, unadulterated corruption.
And our third pillar, the economy, belongs to the Guild of Unified Commerce. These guys control literally all trade, all shipbuilding, all technology, and their solution to that no AI rule is just wild. They created the Tau engineers, humans who are basically conditioned from birth to be living computers, performing all the complex calculations an AI would normally handle. It's a really clever and frankly deeply unsettling workaround. And this is what it all boils down to: this perfect, razor's edge balance of power. None of these groups can ever fully dominate the others. The Knights have the guns, the Church has the hearts and minds of the masses, and the Guild has all the money and all the ships. It's this three-way perpetual stalemate that keeps the entire empire locked in place. Now, underneath that top tier of power, you've got the nobility. Section 3, the 10 great houses. See, the empire is like a pressure cooker, and it needs a way to let off some steam without blowing up. And that's where this idea of a controlled burn comes in.
10. That's it. That's the number of great houses that are officially allowed to exist and rule over huge chunks of space. You know, there used to be more, but let's just say that breaking the rules has some pretty permanent consequences.
And as you can see, each house has its own thing, its own specialty. You've got everything from House Scorpion's expertise in covert warfare to House Snake's mastery of genetic manipulation. And that's the key right there, this forced specialization. It creates the super complex web of rivalries and dependencies that make sure no single house ever gets strong enough to challenge the whole system.
But here's the crazy part: they are allowed to fight. Espionage, sabotage, even little skirmishes and proxy wars. It's all on the table. It's sanctioned. But a full-scale open invasion? No way. That is a line you do not cross. The memory of the three forbidden houses, Gorgon, Jackal, and Kraken, serves as a very permanent reminder of what happens when a house gets too ambitious for the Codex Knights.
Okay, but while all the houses are busy stabbing each other in the back, something else is pressing in from the outside. Section 4. Whispers from the void. This is the real threat. the existential one, and it's coming from the cracks in reality itself.
And it all seems to start with these things, the black monoliths. They're these huge, ancient spires just drifting in dead star systems. They're older than anyone can guess, they reflect zero light, and they pulse with this weird alien energy. So, what in the world are they? And this is the terrifying truth that people whisper about in the darkest corners of the galaxy. They're not just old statues or relics, they are anchors to another dimension. The Void Realm, a place where pure thought can literally create monsters. They're doors. And, doors can be opened.
And what comes through those doors are the void entities. But look at how differently everyone sees them. The nobles and the rulers, they see monsters. The church, they see physical heresy, proof that the void is corrupt. But the poor, the forgotten people at the bottom of society, they see salvation. They start forming cults, worshiping these things, believing they're a ticket out of their miserable lives. And that creates a dangerous rot from within the empire.
Now, you can't just kill these things with a normal gun. If you kill one, it just gets sent back to the void to reform and come back later. To really destroy one, you need something special. You need fire to burn away its metaphysical echo. You need faith to sever its connection to its home dimension. Or, if you've got the tech, you need pure disintegration to completely and utterly erase it from existence.
So, in a galaxy that's this rigid, this paranoid, and this threatened, how does anyone get anything done? Well, that brings us to our last section, the last truly free agents in the Carrion Empire.
Meet the Void Runners. These are independent ship captains who make a huge choice. They renounce their noble house, their family, their crest, everything. They swear allegiance only to the Codex and its laws, and this gives them a totally unique status. They are neutral parties, which means they're allowed to cross hostile borders to carry messages, transport important people, or hunt down bounties for any faction.
I mean, just listen to their oath. It says it all. They give up their entire past to become citizens of nowhere, bound only by the law. In a galaxy that is defined by who you serve, their absolute neutrality makes them indispensable. They're the grease in the gears, the only thing keeping the lines of communication from snapping completely.
And these runners are needed now more than ever, because after 1,000 years of quiet, the stasis is finally starting to crack. The most dangerous sign? House Phoenix. They're the direct descendants of the last emperor, and the rumor is they're working on the ultimate heresy, trying to clone him and bring him back. For the Church, this is pure blasphemy. For the Codex Knights, it's high treason, the one thing that could send the entire galaxy spiraling back into the civil war the stasis was created to stop.
And that brings us right to our final, lingering question. You've got heresy from within threatening to shatter the peace, and you have horrors from beyond knocking at the door. Is the Carrion Empire staring down its final, dying twilight? Or could all this pressure actually force a violent, terrifying, but maybe, just maybe, necessary new dawn? One thing's for sure, the long stasis can't last forever.